Everyone, this is Community Projects front end teams demo for the week. So what we did this week was we decided that we were going to test a login page with database connectivity. And to do this, we decided that we were going to use a virtual machine for our testing. So as we see here, we have a community project virtual machine up and running, and this is a Ubuntu Desktop 20.4 version. This is the one that we use for 460, for example. And we've downloaded the necessary MySQL packages and PHP to run everything on here. And we have instructions for a write-up in case we want to do that, in case we want to provide instructions how to do this. But this is just the general setup. As you can see, we're the front end virtual machine right here. And we're IPA, we're at 192.168.85.136. For the IP of this virtual machine on this environment. But if we take a look at the code, we come here and we have two files that we're going to be using for our login page. We have a index.php, which is right here. It's going to take two inputs from the user. It's going to take a username and a password, as you can see right here by the labels. And we're going to take that and we're going to send it with the insert.php to a database. So upon submit, we run this insert.php file, and if we go to this insert.php file, we can see that we do have a connection to our database right here, MySQL database. I have commented here what our testing environment credentials are. This will change as the project continues on. We actually start doing implementation between front end, back end, and central. So just this PHP file explained, we're going to check the connection right here. If we don't have a true connection, we're going to say an error. Otherwise, we're going to continue. So we're going to take the two values from the insert or index.php, and we're going to grab them using the names right here, the name, username, and uname and password. We're going to set them equal to variables called username and password in PHP. And then we're going to do a SQL query right here. So our query is insert into the table name checkout our username and password, which we entered right here from these variables. And the values that we're inserting into the database is the username and the password, which we entered. If it is, if we do have a correct connection and we're able to insert it and it's a true query and there's no errors with that, we should be presented with this H3 banner right here saying the data was stored in the database successfully. But if not, we're going to have an error print out to the web page, and then we're going to close the connection down here. So when we do run this index.php file, it will trigger this insert.php file, but we can see that in action right here. So for testing purposes, we're going to do username QWERTY, and for the password, we'll do QWERTY in all capital letters. But before we run this, we can come down here to the command line and we can double check or actually look at our MySQL from the command line. So we're going to see what the database looks like before and then after we enter this data. So since I haven't inserted the data yet, we're going to pull it up and we're going to query the database and select everything from the database's only table. And it'll print out of the screen. So we're going to show the databases so we can see that we have checkout right here. We're going to use checkout. And we say use checkout, and we're going to select all from the only table, which checkout. This is the only different spelling of checkout, and this is just something to take note of when we're doing integration later. So we see that we have 5 entries, 4 of admin and 1 of Matt and Matt. So this is the database before we run our insert.php query. And if we go back to here, this is the index.php, as we can see up here, the index.php. Upon submit, we can see that it ran because we're now on the insert.php, and we have the data H3 banner that it was stored successfully in the database, but double check and make sure. We come back here, select all from that table again, and now we can see we have QWERTY in lowercase the username and QWERTY in uppercase as the password, which is the thing that we entered on the database or on the login page. We are waiting on database designs and ERDs from backends. And we're just waiting on other things to be connected, and we should have this up and running. We got to figure out how we're going to validate the passwords with the database, but once we have that figured out, we should be able to trigger a uh, progress to the 3 pages that we're going to be using for the database or for this application, or if it's a bad login, we're going to say we're going to have another page saying error, there's a bad login. But that's something down the road that we can take a look at. But yeah, that's what we have so far this week. Thank you very much.